Hello and welcome to this Q&A session at Optimize 24 AI. This is our 9th session of today. So what a fantastic kind of run of presentations and talks we've had already today. If you've been with us for all 9 sessions, I congratulate you because it's been a lot today and a lot to kind of take in. We have 2 wonderful experts. Uniqueka, if you were on the last session, you're going to know really, really well. Uniqueka has made a quick shift over here to have a really quick conversation with us. And of course, Amanda is joining us for this Q&A. You've worked together in the past, you're friends in the industry, and I think this is going to be a great conversation. Thank you both for joining us, first of all.
Thanks for having us.
No problem at all.
Absolutely.
A little bit of housekeeping just to kind of keep things going here. We have a Q&A box on screen, and we have an attendee chat on screen. Feel free to use both. The attendee chat today has been great in terms of networking. People have been sharing their LinkedIn profiles and where they're from and where they're tuning in from. Obviously, you can see Chloe there tuning in from Texas. I keep the questions rolling in. So this is going to be an open conversation. We really want to try and tackle as many different questions as we possibly can, so have no hesitation of doing that. And there's a number of free resources on screen. If you want to take a look at those, you're more than welcome. But first of all, Uniqueka, I give you a bit of a break and a chance to get your breath. Amanda, would you mind introducing yourself and your own organization?
Yes, I will be really brief. I was actually, as you were introducing me, typing in the chat my LinkedIn. If anyone's curious about who I am and what I do, I'll put that in the chat so you guys can go ahead and take a look at all of the info I share on there. And don't hesitate to connect with me, send me a DM. I'm always happy and interested to meet new faces and learn more about what everyone does in this industry. And so quick 60 seconds or less on me. I started off in AEC proposals, working with a large national US engineering firm. And since then, that was 2016, so 8 years, it's flown by. I have ventured into the realm of running my own small business and proposal consulting firm where I help different companies with the proposal process and strategic development, whether you're small, medium, or large. Doesn't matter if you're in AEC, GovCon, whatever the industry is, I will support firms with the proposal process and going from solicitation to proposal submission. So quick little bite about me. Anything open book, just go ahead and send me a DM on LinkedIn.
Thank you for that. And Uniqueka, would you mind doing a little bit of an overview? I know you've done it very recently, so go again.
Oh, no, that's fine. Thank you for that. Amanda is definitely open book, really great person to get to know y'all, so don't hesitate to reach out. My name is Uniqueka Walcott. I am a proposal manager writer at AECOM. I joined the AEC industry about 10 years ago. I have written proposals at firms as small as 50 people and as large as 50,000. Little overly curious probably about the intersection of technology and work. And so AI is like all over it. Like I can't get enough of it. I'm really excited about it. I also hosted a podcast called Career Conversations. And so that really gave me a really great sort of view into like the variety of careers that people have taken on and kind of why. The emphasis is really on like who those people are. And so that kind of gives you a little bit of taste of like how I do things. I'm very, very human centric. I try to do one new thing every month so that life doesn't get too boring. And I'm excited to be here, y'all. So let's roll.
No, I love it. I thank you both for those introductions. And we've had such a long day of discussing AI from every different angle, and I know you will bring your own instance to it. So, and this has been the first kind of conversation that's kind of been a bit open-ended. So it's nice to have like just an honest, frank conversation and hear your open thoughts on it. And Amanda, I go to you first. At the moment, what is your thoughts on AI in the industry? You know, as a really open, broad question.
Yeah, and Uniqueka, I was like I'll show everyone. So I am sometimes old school and I have my notes. I was feverishly jotting down notes from your session. I was like, okay, I want to talk about this and this. And you brought up some really good points in your previous session. And my general answer to that is I am definitely open to AI, but I also want to be very cognizant of the feelings that other people have. So I try to, while I'm open, hear what everyone's opinions and thoughts are on AI in general, because I do understand that, and I'm going to sort of nerd out for a second and just talk about psychology because I love psychology. That was my minor in college. And so from a psychological standpoint, we as humans, it doesn't matter where you're from, anything, just as humans, when we are sort of unsure or unclear about information, our brain, our cortex starts to really fill in those gaps with our own interpretations of what that is. So let's just take AI, for example. And so we've got these subjective construals of just what is AI and am I in that bucket of for it or against it? And I don't like to see it like that black and white. So short answer is I'm all for it, but I think it's also a lot more nuanced than that, where I'm for it, but I also understand where other individuals are coming from. And I want to hear about that so that we can work together to creating this open dialogue about AI and how to incorporate it into our professions. That was a very long answer, but my thoughts on it.
No, it's good. I like that you said it's not black and white.
Yes.
Yeah. It was a very open question, Amanda, as well. So I think I put that on it too. Uniqueka, we have, okay, so 80% of the audience were just with you. So we're only dealing with a few people who weren't there. So most people have moved over, which I'm not surprised. But do you want to give a few more thoughts on just to summarize your session or just to react to Amanda?
Yeah, I'll give like a quick summary on the session. It really have had like 4 big points. Like you need to be curious, you need to be mindful, be prepared, and be powerful. Those are kind of my 4 key points out of the last session. And so the idea with that being like a lot of us are invited to these conversations or attempted to initiate these conversations about buy-in. And so we need to know what we don't know. What are the benefits and the risks? So some of the risks, being sustainability concerns. Does that align with our brand values? Yes, we can get 12% more efficiency and 25% more productivity, but how does that translate to the experience of our employees? Are we getting burnout? Are we thinking about that? Or we just decide, okay, we get this, we can get more, so do more. That's kind of that part. And then about the sort of be mindful, new tools don't necessarily fix culture, and so you have to be mindful of how you approach this. What problem are you trying to solve? Moving into next, once you've got clear on who's going to solve it, who needs to be involved in that conversation, having a lot of deep clarity, not just about the skills and talent those people bring to the conversation with respect to their technical abilities, but what are their personalities like? I think back to Amanda's point about psychologically, where are people? Do you have somebody that's a naysayer in the room? You want that person in the room, whether you like it or not. They're going to help ground your group. You want the person who's the enthusiast, the researcher who's going to dig deep and inform everybody of what's happening. So those are the kinds of people you need. You also need to have clarity about your budget. Kind of, I guess, last but not least, sort of key point, we talked about being prepared. Beyond being powerful, being prepared is kind of the idea of do you have a plan for yourself and how you're going to manage your own anxiety, your own expectations? How are you going to manage the expectations of your team? And so with that, my final point, it was about being powerful. And so I think that it's easy for us to abdicate our voices when we have the right education or information and to bury our heads. It's really important for us to get engaged with people who've got similar interests and have conversations. I loved your point about the black and white dichotomy sort of piece, Amanda. We can't look at this from a dichotomous standpoint of this is good or bad. There are good and bad things happening. So when we talk about things like sustainability, for example, there are factors we haven't considered as far as water consumption and things of that nature with AI tools. But for us to decide, okay, we're not going to use AI, if we're going to be that cut and dry, we should all throw our phones out too. So you really got to give some real nuanced thoughts to what is the value and trade-off of our behavior. And so that's kind of my conversation in a nutshell. If you missed it, I hope that gets you up to speed.
No, that was a great summary. And I did notice, Unica, in your presentation, you talked about, you know, don't be overly consumed if you haven't jumped into it yet. Like, or that you might, like a lot of people out there that I speak to are actually, one, you're very busy professionals as you are. Your industry is fairly fast paced, very time consuming. And now there's this other element that people feel like I'm behind already, even though really a lot of people aren't started yet. And you came out with a stat, but we had a stat today where it said, I think only 40% of people said that they haven't even looked into it yet. They haven't even, like, it's not even something that they were, they feel like it's coming, but it's not something they've spent an awful lot of time doing. And what are your thoughts for that person out there that's just overwhelmed by this and came to this conversation to try and learn everything in one go?
I mean, I think first thing is to level your expectations. There's no way you're going to learn everything in one go. And even if you spent around the clock, time immersing yourself in things, you're still not going to know everything. I think step one for you is to kind of really gauge what's important to you to know. Is it about the future of jobs? Is that what you want to know? Do you want to know how to prompt engineer? What area do you want to focus in? And then find some friends about areas that might be of interest, but not maybe your heart-centered sort of focus. And talk, and maybe have a monthly coffee chat and check in with those folks, or a group chat where you exchange some information. I think that's kind of an easy low barrier for you, so you don't have to feel like you've got to own this entire subject matter for yourself. It's not a reasonable ask.
Yeah. Amanda, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree to the point in your session, Uniqueka, with the be curious, and really it all comes down to communication and how as humans we need to be the listeners, but then also not just keep our thoughts and concerns in our head. Like, we need to share them. And to tack on to that, if you are concerned about AI, whether it's job security, anything, I would empower you to not only do this for yourself, but work with leadership, write down what all of your concerns are, and then work through, how can AI support maybe some of my concerns? What's still the concerns there after I've talked to others about my concerns and, surrounding AI, but just communicate all of your concerns. You can even do it here in the chat. And I love just having that open conversation about, it's okay to be worried about job security, but let's talk through how AI in turn might actually help with XYZ, or just that two-way communication, and just knowing that you're entitled to have your feelings about anything, specifically AI as well. And I would just implore everyone to be curious, be mindful of everyone's opinions. And as Uniqueka also said, be prepared and be powerful. So I loved your 4 points that you made in your session about that. That holds true, absolutely.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. I think although AI and people talk about it in the press and the media, it's fast booming. There's a million products out there. There's a lot of information to consume. It's a slow race, because it's not like there's a lot of things that still need to be figured out. And if you're in a bigger organization as well, it's even more complicated. So I think people that are under pressure, and we've certainly felt that a little bit. I don't know what an LLM is. Is that a big deal? Not really. I don't think that's going to affect you tomorrow, and it definitely won't affect you next week. I love that insight. But if you were to look a little bit ahead, Uniqueka, if you were to say 3 years from now, 5 years from now, do you think the proposal manager role will have changed a lot? Or the proposal capture manager role will have changed a lot?
I won't say a lot, but I think that you're going to see meaningful changes in like the next 3 to 5 years. For me, one of the things that having to access to AI tools has done is really given me the space to be able to take on some of those other tasks that are not necessarily proposals that I enjoy. So I've been able to get us to do some more of our business development stuff and create white papers and some of the digital sort of employee spotlights and things we want to share. Like, having access to those tools has made that happen faster for me. And so I really feel like the future of our role is going to be much more 360 with respect to our marketing capabilities. You know, traditionally, a lot of firms break out their marcoms team and they break out the proposal team as two separate divisions. I think that they're going to be a lot of the same people now doing both roles, and there's going to be more leadership around, okay, these are people who are going to set the tone for the strategy, but you might have one person who's now, you know, the proposal manager for these particular accounts or however you line your groups up. And they're now going to be responsible for sort of 360 effort in the communications around that client. I think that's where the future is going for proposal and marketing manager professionals. It's going to be, you have to have more 360 sort of skills. And so maybe you're not an SEO expert, but you've got enough to be dangerous in a few areas so that you can deliver.
Good. Amanda, in terms of the clients that you work with, do you think their problems will have changed, or do you think the areas that they look to you will change in a few years due to this?
Yeah, so, you know, as far as proposal management, I don't think the role itself will change as far as what our unique value is as a proposal professional and what we bring to the table, and how we've got the core leadership skills and how we take, you know, I guess nothing into something. But what I do think will change, and I've seen this happen already, is that efficiency and the productivity of what we're doing with our time. I don't know about anyone else, but there are nights where I've worked on project descriptions and resumes till the early hours. My weekends are filled with just like reading narratives in proposals or working on something that I know probably could have been done by AI, but we aren't using those tools. So I see it more of once the security concerns are fleshed out with companies and they implement whatever system it is that utilizes AI, that it will enable proposal professionals to be strategic in your time. And you can go to these tools to be able to easily put together resumes, project descriptions, narratives for sections. And so I see it as a tool for increased efficiency and productivity for proposal professionals and technical teams as well, because I think there's opportunities where instead of needing a proposal professional to do it, you can just have a team that has access to this AI tool, and they can go in and create these documents or information themselves. So that in turn will help the proposal manager. But to me, the role itself and the value we bring isn't going to change in 3 to 5 years. And as you know, as far as me as a consultant, I've worked with the full gamut of some firms. They're still exploring the idea, where there's others that are like, use it, use it, use it. We know that it's going to increase productivity. And I just got off the phone with a client who's like, we love it. We've seen our KPIs and productivity, they've gotten so much better because we've started implementing AI in our proposal process. So I think it's there, and hopefully, depending on each firm and how you choose to implement it, it's only going to help proposal professionals.
Absolutely. There's a great question in the chat that you're responding to about what are good resources for people that are looking for knowledge. 100% Pi and Ren at Pi in particular, like the podcast they do, the amount of content they're putting out is excellent, and certifications and different pieces. And I totally get the non-vendor perspective as well. It's great to have like that community base that's building. AP&P, from my perspective, obviously have lots of content, and the GovCon Club, I think produce a lot of good content. Uniqueka, Amanda, is there any other communities or resources that you look to for information?
Pi is probably my go-to for a lot of things lately. I also take advantage of SNPS opportunities. They've got some stuff going on in different chapters around the country. I think sometimes the challenge is making the dots connect, because sometimes we're often focused on things that are happening nationally, and we're missing a lot of the people who are making first moves in SNPS at the chapter level. I know they've got some relevant events happening in SNPS New York in April. I'm not a member of AP&P, so I can't speak to that personally, but I've seen a lot of the webinars and stuff that have come out recently really helping people get their minds wrapped around things like what is an LLM. Like, so there are resources available, and a lot of resources that are actually free or relatively inexpensive. But those would be the 3 places I would look first for proposal related sort of insights.
And full disclosure, so Uniqueka and I are board members of PI, and of course, you know, like we're, yes, so we are full-on advocates of PI, and I would just, I would say it really depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for knowledge about what AI can do? Then definitely recommend, you know, there's plenty of opportunities out there to watch videos on different tools out there and how you can utilize those tools. If you're looking for feedback, opinions, questions directed to, you know, not necessarily an AI related company giving you their perspective, then I would definitely recommend Pi, because that's going to give you a community where you're getting individual opinions on just their perspectives related to AI. And then my only other suggestion would be, don't underestimate the power of LinkedIn. And if you see individuals on LinkedIn who are consistently talking about AI, don't be scared, just shoot them over a DM. I'm pretty positive if they're talking about it on LinkedIn and they're sharing posts, then they're going to be open to you sending them a message on LinkedIn and talking about it more. So just don't underestimate the power of your community and being able to reach out to people. Don't feel scared about asking questions, because it's more than likely they want to talk to you about it and really explore the opportunities of AI and understanding, you know, where it can take us as proposal professionals.
No, great answer. And one last tip on that as well, and it came up in a Leaf session about making a buying decision or making a bid and making a business case for a buying decision. Also look outside our own industry. So like look to other industries for, like, AI is a wide topic, and maybe the angle of not only is it going to support proposals, but it's going to support legal, finance, tech in your organization might be the reason you might get a software in or make a big claim to do something. So I'd point out Noelle Russell was our second presentation today. She did a keynote. She's an excellent influencer in the space. Microsoft MVP, but she's spoken a lot about AI. So a neutral person out there and not in our industry, which I think is quite interesting. You mentioned earlier on, Uniqueka, about, you know, finding groups to speak about AI, like to learn off each other and, you know, to bounce things off. Any strategies for proposal teams in particular to kind of gain acceptance and a bit of momentum around AI in their own teams?
I think if you can get like executive buy-in to just create a small task force and say, hey, look, we're going to, you know, track this information and maybe we'll report out monthly. I think that's probably an easy formal approach to the structure. You don't have formal support, then take a look at some of those professional organizations we just mentioned. And you know, Pi's got threads of conversations going. If you want to start a conversation there and keep it going there, or you want to structure a small group yourself, like there's so many ways you can take this. It doesn't necessarily have to be just, okay, I work at this place, so I need to work with these people. You might have been a functional team across different organizations in the industry, and, you know, having a clear understanding about what is acceptable to share outside of that circle and what is acceptable fodder, and work from that direction if that better suits you. I think that, you know, sometimes organizations aren't always on the same page with. If you were the CEO of your career, you've got to be focused on getting the skills and information you need to be at your best.
Very good.
Amanda, I don't know if I answered the question.
No, you did. Amanda, your thoughts on strategies to kind of foster a bit of acceptance in our own teams?
Yeah, so my 2-year-old daughter, her favorite 2 words are I want, right? She just, like, I can't even tell you how many times a day she just says I want. And the thing about that is, you know, I feel like your brain, when someone just says I want, you immediately are like, no, like, don't make demands about I want. And so the same thing goes for when you're trying to create this acceptance around AI. My suggestion is, don't just say, well, everyone's doing it, so we should have it. Don't say, well, you know, we want it because it will do X, Y, and Z. Those are just words when you're talking to leadership. And so for me, it's all about data, right? Data is crucial. Data is everything. Leadership, they want to see data. And so you should be able to show why it can be efficient in implementing AI, whether that's increasing your productivity where on past proposals, and I know I'm referencing proposals, but that is my field, and just that, you know, past proposals, we spend 300 hours on this specific submission for this client, but then when we even started small and implemented this AI strategy, we only needed to work, you know, 50 hours on this. And so showing those numbers really help with empowering your leadership for making that decision on long-term AI strategies and potentially buying into AI tools that are more robust. So my two things that I would say to everyone is start small. It doesn't have to be like we need to implement the most robust AI system ever, and then use data to try to showcase why it's of value and why the company should invest in it.
Very good. And I think Uniqueka, you spoke about that. You kind of referenced the ROI, leaning into the ROI of it, and even whether it's, you know, you'll hire a better team or you'll keep your team happy. There's quantifiable metrics that you can find that are better than it's going to make. It'll be better for this particular part of my day. I totally get it. Now, Uniqueka, would you talk a little bit about the ROI piece? You spoke excellently about it last time.
Yeah, so what the ROI piece is data that I got from a white paper that is part of several consulting groups. One of those is a Boston Consulting Group that was a part of the study. And so what they found is that they had 40% higher quality output for people who are using AI tools as a part of their work. It was 12% increased. I'm going to mix these up. I always mix up efficiency.
12% more productivity and 25% more efficient. Uniqueka, I was jotting down all these notes from you.
I'm just saying these backwards. I always do the efficiency and the other one back. So yeah, it's 12%. So yeah, those are the things that you can get that are a benefit here. I think that's the readily tangible stuff that you take to your executive leadership team that they're going to get a reaction from. I think the other part of this is that if you can tell your team who's got to adopt this tool, who may have some resistance looking at this poll here, we've got 50% mixed perspectives, you can go to them, hey, we can give you a tool that's going to give you back, 12% of your time. Maybe that means you don't have to work overtime to get everything done anymore. You can make it to your kid's soccer game. You can go take that class you've been eyeing for forever to advance your skills or study for your certifications. Like, that's the benefits you sell to your team. Like, that's the soft sell to them. You've got to go the hard sell to your executive leadership team. Some of them, yes, they're people focused, but their job is really to meet the bottom line goals. And if they're, a public company, to meet shareholder expectations. And so it's really about understanding your audience when you bring the facts. Which facts do they care about?
I was just going to say that, Uniqueka, knowing your audience and being strategic in sort of, I don't want to sound gimmicky, but how you sell that story, right? And so going back to your data points, especially for, I think that we talk a lot about productivity and efficiency, but I was sort of surprised with that high number for the increased quality. And I'm all for it because it's not only quality in what potentially, a proposal professional might be doing, but if you are in that field, think of it from a holistic standpoint of the company as a whole, right? We've got different business units typically for a company, and how can AI enable our business units to all be on the same page and put out the same level of quality, no matter who's sending it? Because I know that for me in the past, you might have marketing working on a proposal for a client, and they have an output for a proposal that looks different than maybe the technical team is doing a smaller proposal and they submit it to the same client. And those are two different levels of quality that might happen. And where AI can help is generating that same level of quality, same tone of voice, the same language being used. So there's so many different ways in which, AI, whether it's productivity, efficiency, or quality, that you can sell to leadership But as Uniqueka said, just knowing your audience and knowing how to sell that that story and what you want to share with them that will resonate with them, right? Because it's all about what resonates with your buyers and how you sell it to them.
Okay. So yeah, I got the request in the chat about the stats: 12% more productive, 25% more efficient, and 40% higher quality output. I've also noted the name of the white paper there for people to explore further. And if you are a Redditor at heart and kind of too long don't read, drop the paper in the chat GPT and ask for it to give you a summary.
Very good. As long as it doesn't change those stats on you, as long as it doesn't upset it. But there's a few specific questions in the chat that I might go through. Just this one is in relation to if I was using a LLM or if I was using ChatGPT for a particular proposal or bid. Have you seen firms disclosing that in the paper? Have you seen that happen yet, or being required to disclose it?
I have not seen the requirements for disclosure. I've gotten people who've reached out to me who've said, hey, we're looking for somebody that's got experience, responding to, proposals that have been scored by AI. But I've not seen anything where people are required to disclose they've used it as a part of their process yet. Again, I think this kind of goes back to that conversation of we're in the wild, wild west right now. There is not a lot of regulation or compliance sort of standards in place yet. I think if we were to see something sort of regulatory that is not necessarily White House or high level, I would probably look at I think it's the DHS, the Procurement Innovation Lab. They've got like 13 different processes in place right now of approaches for how to procure that is not just the traditional, standard Form 330 or even written response. Some of them are video responses. You write a video proposal. There's so many different varieties and approaches. So I would think that they might have a lead on kind of maybe setting the bar with respect to how we address whether or not AI has been a part of the response.
Totally makes sense. Amanda, did you have anything additional to say on that? Is that okay?
Yeah, and this is solely my personal opinion, but I don't see why we should need to at this point, only because, and I'm sure there was conversations today about this and why, as far as within this industry, you still need that human aspect to sort of take what these large language models give you, but put it into your own tone of voice, the company's voice, to maybe not use such verbose words that ChatGPT sometimes gives you, and you're changing it. So you're taking these LLMs as sort of guidelines, and they're giving you narrative suggestions. But so long as you're changing it and putting it in your own tone of voice, and you're recreating the sentences, and they're not directly pulled from these LLMs, which I truly don't think you should be copying and pasting anyways, then I don't see why you would put disclosures on there that it was used, from an LLM.
Very good. And you see there, that kind of stands over the stat on screen, stands over our original conversation. Only 16% of the group right now are actually using it. Everyone else is looking forward. So it really does kind of echo what we were talking about earlier on. Uniqueka, you mentioned in your previous presentation at ACOM, like many other organizations, and Steve said it as well, we just don't use ChatGPT. We just don't use anything that's going to go out into the interface. In terms of tools you do use, is there something that you're looking for? Yes.
So Copilot's a readily available sort of tool to all of us, and it's secured, kind of firewalled off. So that's one of the kind of easy low-hanging fruits you can use. And like I said, it's not so much a proposal tool for me; it's sort of the Marcom sort of materials that have been beneficial for me. Occasionally, it's useful for like, okay, I need to shorten this down to 3 lines instead of 3 paragraphs. But you have to be very mindful of what you're taking and put in there.
Yeah. Is there certain specifications or requirements you're looking for in tooling? Is it just simply it's locked down behind the firewall?
I mean, that's a conversation above my pay grade. I'll be very honest with you. I mean, aside from the obvious, security sort of, is this accessible? Is there downtime? Like a lot of the standards are the standards you're going to expect with any sort of software as a service product. Like if it's not reliable, if Teams is down for the third time this week, we got a problem. That's the kind of stuff I think most of us are looking for. But as far as like, explicit specifications, like I'm not a software engineer. I wish I could be more support here. This is why you get that group together to have the conversation.
Absolutely.
For me, AI tools really get my brain running. Like sometimes I get into these, I am banging my head against the wall, and I can't think of, okay, I know about the subject that I'm writing on, but my brain is shorting out with how I want to get it started. And so for me, tools like ChatGPT, they really just give my brain a kickstart and I can take it from there. But they really get me going to take me where I want to go. And so that's how I use it. I use it as a tool, sort of my little side companion to get me going when I have to write things, not to say, okay, here is the RFP, give me a proposal that incorporates X, Y, and Z, because I know that I need to humanize it, I need to tailor it, but it will help me in getting my thoughts going for something that I need to write about.
And that's an excellent point. I think that when you have to do something like write a DEI plan or a community outreach plan, you're like, well, I've got all these ideas in my head. Like, it's a great place to like get an outline or structure, and then you evolve the content as a writer and knowledge expert.
Very good.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms, I had a quick question, and I don't know if you can put another poll in here, and maybe it's a follow-up, but I love the question about, whether or not individuals here are using AI already. What I would love to know from you guys, and if you're open to sharing it in the chat, how many of you that are already utilizing it, that your company also has guidelines set in place for how you use AI, right? Because I think, as Uniqueka said, it is sort of the wild, wild west. And it's like, are you just, your company hasn't said anything, but it's sort of like we've lightly talked about that we can use it, but how are you using it? Because there are those data and security concerns. And so I'd be curious to know, if you are using it as part of your proposal process, has your company set, whether it's formal guidelines or instructions on how to use it and what you can use for AI?
What we will do, we'll put that up and very quickly typed out. Bear with me if there's a spelling mistake in there, but it should do the work. So feel free to click the slides, and we'll definitely come back to that. While we're talking about those guidelines and pieces, in terms of getting adoption, so like that's one of the things as well that will crop up if we bring in these tools and they're not being used. Do you have any sort of tips for adoption of software or these type of products when we get them in, to make sure they are being used and be positive? Uniqueka, maybe?
Tips for getting people to use them. I think first off is let people know it's happening, and not just like the day it rolls out. Like, give people the opportunity to get acquainted and comfortable, do some demos, have some live Q&A sessions for people. I think the other thing, honestly, is if you're a little bit smart about it, if you've got a large enough team, segment them out and do a pilot, so that you're not exhausting everybody over something that maybe is just not what you were looking for at all. Like, fatigue is a thing when you talk about, let's test this one, now let's test this one next month. Like, so I think that's just a little bit of advice for adoption, is not to wear people out.
Very good. Amanda, on that topic of adoption?
Yeah, I would say, going back to my psychology analogy and reference, is that we also get, as humans, really overwhelmed by options, right? At least I know for me, it's real bad. Like, if you give me 10 different options, I just completely check out, and I'm like, I can't deal with this. And the same thing with AI tools. I'm sure all of us could probably name at least 3 that we've heard. And so there's so many more. Every day I get DMs, hey, can you check out this new AI tool that my company's launching? And it's just at this point, the market, there's so many tools out there. And I would just say, if you're looking to create adoption on an AI tool, first you need to collectively, as a firm, as a group, understand what your goals are and what the needs are for your company, because we all have different needs for what we're using AI for. And, you know, whether that be from a writing standpoint, a data collection, quality standpoint, it's all different. And so one tool might sort of nudge itself out than the other. And so it really just goes down to understanding what your needs are and then evaluating what each of these tools can offer, and whether or not it's a one size fits all and it's just one tool, or is there an opportunity where you're using an array of tools to help you with your solution. So really breaking that down. I like to think through everything methodically and logically. And so I would just say, when you're trying to empower and engage individuals to use tools and buy on, just think of it from that strategy, is understanding what the needs are for you and your team.
Very good. And there's the answer to your question, Amanda. So just over half the audience, no restrictions whatsoever yet. And then 40% yes to have a conversation. So it's a little bit half and half. But in the chat, and Steve earlier on, yeah. What were you expecting, Amanda, or Uniqueka?
I was expecting there to at least be some sort of guidelines, even if the guideline was, "Hey, don't do it." Like.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, I think it's I don't know. It's a funny one with guidelines as well. Until if they feel like they're getting a competitive advantage of it, or they're trying to set up a team to figure it out, or whatever. But a lot of the approaches that we've heard is pretty much stop until we find the solution that's right for you. But yeah, it's interesting. And then a lot of people saying in the chat, we've turned off Grammarly, or we're still using Copilot, but that's it. And Copilot is a good option in regards to being locked down. We're almost out of time. What I might do is, Amanda, any parting words, anything that we didn't discuss that you'd like to mention?
Nothing that we didn't really necessarily discuss. It's just going back to how I started the conversation. And regardless of whether or not you're for AI, or you're completely against it, or you're sort of in the middle, or that spectrum, just be open to listening. And then also don't be afraid to share your concerns, because those concerns can be discussed in a larger group where, you know, others can sort of get a different perspective on what the concerns are, but then also you can get an idea for why it may be of benefit to use for your role and to help you. So my parting words are to try not to be, and I know this is easier said than done just because of how we're hardwired and how our brains are hardwired, but just be open to hearing from others, and don't be afraid to share your concerns as well, and just start that dialogue is my parting words. Start the dialogue.
And Uniqueka, from your perspective, any parting words? I know.
Be curious, be mindful, be prepared, and be powerful. Those are my parting words to you guys.
That's a good summary right there. Thank you both so much. There's two questions in the chat that are visible thread kind of related. LLM versus Gen AI. LLM is large language model. That's what all these ChatGPT and tools, that's the technology they're based on. Gen AI is a term used to the creation of words or the creation of content. So Gen AI uses LLM to create paragraphs, or create sentences, or improve text. So that's probably the definition. And what engine does Visible Thread run on? The AI portion of Visible Thread is Minstrel AI. The reason we use that is it can be deployed behind the firewall. So it's an LLM that would work without the internet. So it's not connected to anything. So that's our version. So we don't use Gemini or ChatGPT or anything like that. It's behind the firewall. That's really it. Amanda and Uniqueka, thank you so much. Like a really, really open conversation. Please do connect with them on LinkedIn. Give your feedback on the forum. We'd love to know what you thought of this session. Definitely check out Pi. Pi is an organization that we've worked with a little bit in the past. Visible Thread, they're brilliant over there. Tons of communications going on, and they have a great community website that allows people to have open conversations all the time. So please do check that out. Next up, where you'll be directed directly after this conversation, is a conversation with APP. So APP, proposal organization, we have 4 people on the international board who are doing a roundtable, and Kyle Peterson, our VP of Customer Success, is chairing that conversation. So thank you so much. Really, thank you for joining this session, and enjoy the APP conversation.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.